You know, there are a few core principles that we really should all agree on that separates this country from a banana republic or a despotic regime. Let's see, free and fair elections, separation of powers, our great Constitution, the best ever given man, and an impartial system of justice that deems that every person is innocent until they are proven guilty. Sadly, tonight, we have many people in this country on the left. They're putting politics above what is a core foundational principle. Now, by now, you probably know the story. Judge Brett Kavanaugh is facing 1 decade-old sexual misconduct allegation. 36 years ago, Northern California psychology professor, Professor Christine Ford. Now, though the alleged incident occurred when they were both in high school in 1982, Ford made these accusations only recently, given few concrete details and naming one witness. Now, both the alleged witness and Kavanaugh categorically have now denied the charge. Law enforcement, they're not investigating the decades-old charge. And meanwhile, Judge Kavanaugh, his accuser, Professor Ford, have all been invited to appear rightly before Congress on Monday. This is a very important, serious allegation. Both sides should be given a serious opportunity to speak and be heard. Kavanaugh quickly agreed to testify under oath. Professor Ford, well, even though our lawyer said she would appear in the beginning, well, now that she's been given an invitation, numerous invitations, she has not accepted the invitation. And we just have a letter sent by her lawyer to Senator Grassley of the Senate Judiciary Committee. She's now calling on the FBI to first investigate her charges as a, quote, first step. Now, of course, to get a full picture, we should also hear from others. This is 36 years ago. People that have known Kavanaugh throughout these many years, former high school students, former high school girlfriends, college girlfriends, they've all been outspoken about what they say is impeccable character, that he has always been a gentleman. 65 women, impressively, have signed a letter supporting the judge. His former female colleagues in the Bush White House, they too have spoken out in his behalf. And mothers of the girl he coaches in basketball, fellow college and law school students, clerks of his, and others that have worked and known him over the last 36 years, all speak well of his character. Now, tonight I can report that none of this seems to interest the Democratic Party. Clearly, they are not interested in hearing the full truth. Clearly, they just want to delay. Sadly, they want to disrupt and just block the Kavanaugh nomination. And even if that means giving up the presumption of innocence, they want to impugn his character, no due process, no trial, nothing. You don't believe me? We've got the tape. Take a look.
This woman is to be believed, and you can believe Dr. Ford. This was attempted rape, and this is a woman who exhibits, Dr. Ford, courage, but the classic signs of post-traumatic stress.
I believe her. Listen, first of all, anybody who comes forward at this point to be prepared to testify in the United States Senate against someone who's being nominated to one of the most powerful positions in the United States government, that takes an extraordinary amount of courage.
Not only do women like Dr. Ford, who bravely comes forward, need to be heard, but they need to be believed. They need to be believed.
Let me just say right at the outset, I believe Dr. Ford. I believe the survivor here. There's every reason to believe her. She has come forward courageously and bravely.
It's another rush to judgment. No presumption of innocence. Mainstream media always carrying the water for the Democratic Party. Well, they are towing the party line, as per usual. Let's take a look.
You have no knowledge whether Brett Kavanaugh did what that person did.
It doesn't matter. I believe Christine Ford because when you to come forward, she has no, there's no enticements for her to come forward.
By the end of the week, if Judge Kavanaugh decides he doesn't want to go through this, it isn't worth it, he doesn't want to, maybe he can win, but he doesn't want an asterisk. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he chose to withdraw and chose to back down.
The reality is, I see it right now, probably this nomination is cooked. And he doesn't, is he willing to accept that when the time comes and withdraw it? Or not.
We need to judge Brett Kavanaugh not just on what he may or may not have done, but how he treats a woman's pain. And that is something I'm going to be paying attention to on Monday. How does he respond to what is happening, whether or not he agrees that this happened with her? Does he take her pain seriously?
When you look at all of this, what do you see? Selective moral outrage. It's important to remember some key details. First, Senator Feinstein and her fellow Democrats, they had this allegation for several months. Professor Ford issued a letter to lawmakers back in July. Now, Feinstein, when she met with Kavanaugh privately for long periods of time, she never asked during any of these private, lengthy meetings anything about this. And by the way, she didn't ask Kavanaugh about the charge during the public hearings that we all watched, the circuits that we watched. She didn't inform any of her Republican colleagues about the charge until the 11th hour, when a confirmation vote was set. And now she even admitted today she can't say everything being alleged is truthful. A quick moment of truth, but she was excoriated immediately thereafter. Watch this.
I think it's really too bad that no one called her or called her lawyer. My understanding is she got emails. And this is a woman, and I really believe, who's been profoundly impacted by this. Now, I can't say everything's truthful. I don't know. Right. But I do know that they had to contact her lawyers.
Well, they did. We checked in with Senator Grassley's office. She has now been invited numerous times to appear before the committee before sending this letter tonight. Now, Feinstein, after being excoriated by the base of her party, she tried to walk back those comments, saying, oh, she believes Professor Ford is credible. But this is the opposite of what we believe in this country, the presumption of innocence, due diligence. And frankly, what you're seeing and what you're observing and what you're watching is dirty political tricks at its worst. We should listen to all sides. And then I trust the American people will come to the truth. I trust senators will make the right decision. Earlier today, the president, he weighed in on these political tactics. Here's what he said.
He's an incredible individual, great intellect, great judge. Impeccable history in every way, I feel so badly for him that he's going through this, to be honest with you. I feel so badly for him. This is not a man that deserves this. This should have been brought to the fore. It should have been brought up long ago. And that's what you have hearings for. You don't wait till the hearing is over and then all of a sudden bring it up. I feel that the Republicans, and I can speak for myself, we should go through a process because there shouldn't even be a little doubt. There shouldn't be a doubt. Again, they knew what they were doing. They should have done this a long time ago, 3 months ago, not now. But they did it now. So I don't want to play into their hands.
The president's right on every point he makes, and brings us to the second key detail you need to remember. Any of the outrage that you're seeing from Democrats over sexual misconduct, nobody else in the media will report this. This is what I mean by selective moral outrage. There was no outrage over Senator Ted Chappaquiddick Kennedy. He was the lion of the Senate. Remember, he impugned the character of Judge Robert Bork. We aired it last night. He successfully blocked Bork's Supreme Court nomination by slandering and smearing him. But this is a guy right there, Ted Kennedy, in 1969. He drove his car off a bridge into shallow water. He left the scene of the crime, and his young female passenger, not his wife, died in a submerged car. He went home to sleep that night. He never called the authorities until the following day. He told nobody. That woman, she has a name, Mary Jo Kopechne, could have been saved. Senator Kennedy was revered by Democrats as a hero. There was no Democratic outrage over. Look at even Bill Clinton, for example. He was beloved by many of the people still in the Senate today, despite, of course, his long track record of known sexual misconduct. Monica Lewinsky, Paula Jones, Kathleen Willey, Juanita Broderick, who accused him of rape. I interviewed her. I interviewed all those women. And that's when he was the Attorney General of Arkansas. Still, Senator Feinstein, Schumer, Dick Durbin, so many other Democrats enthusiastically supported Clinton, even voted against his impeachment. And then there's current U.S. Democratic Senator Sherrod Brown. His ex-wife accused him of domestic abuse a few years after what they're claiming Judge Kavanaugh did, and even filed a restraining order against him. There's a new Political ad just out today. Look for yourself.
Now, Senator Sherrod Brown is facing his own Me Too movement from his past. These court records show sworn evidence that Brown's ex-wife accused him of abusing her. She said Brown assaulted her. A judge had to issue a restraining order. Later, she said Brown violated the court order, pushing, shoving, and bullying her. Brown claims it's a family matter, but his ex-wife, like other victims, has a right to be believed. This senator had to resign when evidence emerged he mistreated women. Why is Senator Brown different?
Now, while Senator Brown and his ex-wife now get along and she supports him politically, Well, the record speaks for itself. That's the record. And still, Feinstein is apparently unconcerned over those charges. We reached out to her office today for comments. Crickets. And there's also DNC Deputy Chairman. This is now currently happening. Keith Ellison. He's running to be Minnesota's next Attorney General. Ellison's ex-girlfriend recently accused him of serious physical and emotional abuse. Ellison went on to win his party's nomination for Minnesota Attorney General. Yesterday, she tweeted the DNC refused to believe her accusations and that they smeared, threatened, and isolated her. We reached out to the DNC. We reached out to Ellison. We still have yet to get a comment. This is the very same party that is now trying to block Kavanaugh's confirmation over decades-old misconduct charges from 1982. People on the record, I believe her. Do you believe Keith Ellison's girlfriend? Did you believe Kathleen Willey and Juanita Broderick? This is the same party of Harvey Weinstein and Anthony Weiner and Elliot Spitzer, and I can go on. As I've said before, the charges are serious, and we need to hear from Kavanaugh's accuser, Professor Ford. But when Democrats tell you they want to get to the truth, that they truly care about misconduct allegations, frankly, I think we've just proven they're simply lying. Selective moral outrage, rushing to judgment, no presumption of innocence. The American people are smart. They see what's going on. Every American deserves this fundamental principle of presumption of innocence. You all deserve it. And Judge Kavanaugh deserves it. And the woman making the allegation deserves to be heard. These are serious allegations. But what you're seeing is a political tactic that we have seen many times. They did it to Judge Bork. They did it to Judge Clarence Thomas. And now it's Judge Kavanaugh. So you also have a right to be skeptical. And we're going to have more on this throughout the show. But thanks to President Trump, we have important developments on the deep state tonight. And we do have a disruptor in chief. We have somebody that's breaking dishes and exposing the deep state. And now that house of cards is crumbling down. Yesterday, the White House announced the president is declassifying key FISA documents that should upend several key corrupt former officials. Now, we've specifically talked about pages 10 through 12, 17 through 34 of the June 2017 FISA application on Carter Page. All FBI reports of Russian-related interviews with Bruce Orr, all FBI reports of interviews prepared in connection with Carter Page and FISA applications. Well, we're now awaiting the release of these important documents, which should rock the deep state to its core. And by the way, that means information, emails, texts, Comey, Page, Strzok, Andrew McCabe, Bruce Orr, Christopher Steele. Let's see it all. Where is Spartacus when we need him? Also tonight, Congressman Adam, Shifty Schiff. He's worried that all his lies about phony Russia collusion will be exposed. He's calling the declassification of abuse of power. That this will put the country at risk. And, quote, this is evidently of no consequence to the president who cares nothing about the country and everything about his narrow self-interest. No, you're going to be exposed as a big, huge liar. We've got all your interviews, all 200,000 of them. And meanwhile, former CIA Director Brennan also freaking out tonight, feeling the heat, actually called on government bureaucrats to defy the president's orders. Obviously, he doesn't want a constitution. But we kind of knew that before, didn't we? Take a look.
I think Christopher Wray, Director of FBI, and Dan Coats, Director of National Intelligence, as well as Rod Rosenstein, who is overseeing this investigation, should push back against any directive that is going to have negative impact on our capabilities, as well as the investigation. So I think they should continue to push. If Mr. Trump and the White House does not relent, well, then I think they have some decisions to make, whether or not they're going to just not follow that direction and be fired, or to resign. But if they really believe that this is going to have serious impact on our national security, law enforcement, and judicial process, they have an obligation, since they took an oath of office to the Constitution of the United States, not to Mr. Trump, to uphold their responsibilities and their agency and department's authorities.
With all due respect, we don't need lectures on the Constitution from him. And by the way, he's feeling safe and sound, bashing the president from his cozy little job on Conspiracy TV, Hate Trump MSNBC. Other officials, including him, may be very worried tonight, specifically anybody that signed off on those FISA applications against Carter Page, Jim Comey, Sally Yates, Rod Rosenstein, Andrew McCabe, and the rest of them. And by the way, McCabe, despite getting fired, and there is currently a grand jury convened at this moment about him from the FBI, waiting the results of this criminal investigation. Well, he's going to cash in on his anti-Trump hatred. He has a brand new book deal, and he'll need the money because when the FISA documents are officially released, we should come full circle on his abuse of power as well as others. And of course, without Donald Trump's win in 2016, we would know nothing. Zero about the widespread bureaucratic abuse of power. It's taken us almost 2 years to unpeel every layer of this onion and the swamp and the sewer. A lot of work yet to be done.